What's up, guys? So, welcome to another episode of The Jungle. So I've been fighting to get this is one of my very best friends, and we've been friends. We actually met in a stock group. Well, we met well before the stock group, but we linked back up in a stock group, and we actually first met. He was my first bunkie in county jail. And ever since that point, him and I have we've stayed in contact over the years. He went through some shit, I went through some shit. But I've wanted Tyler on from the start because Tyler's one of those just awesome success stories of, he realized he was fucking up. He got tired of that life, got his shit together, and now he's straight killing it. And I want to focus on the point that he's killing it right now. He's actually on his honeymoon in Aruba for 3 weeks with his beautiful new wife Gina. And I think it's just awesome that you were able to take that time to go to Aruba. I know you are a workaholic. You are a straight monster when it comes to what you do these days. And these are the types of guys that I love surrounding myself with. These are the types of guys that you need to surround yourself with if you're trying to stay on the up and up and keep your head above water and shit. Because I talk to these guys. We have a group chat. Tyler's in the group chat. I talk to these guys every day, and I love these guys. I love Tyler. I'm so happy he came on. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, this is my first Funky Bunky, Tyrone G, coming at you live from Aruba. So go ahead and say hi to everybody, Tyler, and then we'll get into everything.
What's up, everyone? Like Chris said, my name's Tyler. So glad I could come on and shed some light on just anything I can kind of help with, and inspiration, and just kind of a story of where I came from and where I'm at now.
Awesome. So, all right, we're going to kind of follow the same format. So, Tyler, tell me or tell everybody just a little bit about your childhood. What was your childhood like growing up? What your adolescent years, your family, your home life, so on and so forth.
Yeah. So I was born in Ravenna. Parents are still together today. Mom and dad was in the home. I have an older sister, Kelly. I mean, my childhood actually was pretty good. I had most of everything I needed and some of what I wanted, pretty much. My dad also, he was the main breadwinner in the house, so he was always at work. So my mom and I spent a lot of time together growing up, and also I had a really strong relationship with my grandma and grandpa, my dad's parents. So I was somewhat of a problem child, I guess you could say. They tried to diagnose me with ADD, ADHD, all the shit under the sun. And I was, always seeking some type of attention. If I couldn't get positive, it would, I'd seek the negative attention. So I was always, always stirring shit up all the time. Really fell in love with sports at a young age, and really that's where I took a lot of my energy out in, was sports and all that. Once again, I was always in the principal's office, always getting calls home to mom, Tyler fucking punched somebody or bit somebody or some shit. And that really kind of carried on throughout my early years, kind of going forward, until then kind of transferred into adulthood as well. But yeah, my childhood, I mean, I got my ass beat quite a bit, but whether it was deserved or not deserved is to be determined or whatever. But I'd say I probably deserved most of them. My dad was pretty strict in that aspect. But yeah, I mean, I didn't have any kind of drug or alcohol abuse going on in the home. I mean, my mom and dad were pretty good examples on how to be upstanding citizens, or whatever. Right. So yeah, I didn't really have a rough upbringing. I mean, a lot of my problems growing up were self-inflicted, if you will. I mean, I just always had to kind of go the opposite direction.
You're always against the grain. Yeah.
I mean, Um, yeah, so as far as childhood goes, it was pretty good. I mean, I didn't have a lot of any like my mom and dad fought here and there. There wasn't any violence or anything like that. They were pretty straight edge people. So I mean, I was pretty blessed as far as my childhood goes. Mm,
Okay. And dude, it's so wild because I kind of had the same upbringing. Like I've talked in a couple episodes about how we had the fun house, we had the house where the family came over on the weekends. We had a big blended Brady Bunch family. There was no real, I mean, there wasn't a lot of attention from dad. My dad was a workaholic, but it's wild because so far, a lot of the guys that I've interviewed, it is just a lot of, they came from good homes. Mostly all the guys that I've talked to, except maybe one, two, they've all come from good homes. They've all just kind of always bucked against authority and went against the grain and been seeking that attention, whether it was the kick puppy attention. It's I just want attention, whether it's good or bad.
mm.
So okay, so you had a decent childhood growing up. Tell me kind of when things went to the wind. When did you start getting in trouble with like drugs and alcohol and the law, and what was your experiences like?
Yeah. So I mean, I started drinking and smoking weed when I was 14 years old. Once again, my life was already kind of headed in that direction, so to speak. Then that was just kind of the natural progression. Was I was always in trouble, with school guidance counselors, principals. Then that just kind of, I just kind of upped the ante as I kept going, and then
Yep.
the law got involved and all that. And and also another thing about my upbringing, like I didn't have really communicative parents. We never talked about drugs or alcohol or don't do this or don't do that. It was pretty much like if something happened, they just, would tell me what to do, but not what not to do. You know what I mean? And so I mean, I committed my first felony when I was 9 or 10 years old. Um, Fucking stupid story. My neighbor buddy and I were talking about these new pair of shoes I wanted, and he went out and had his mom buy them for him. I got jealous, broke into the kid's house and stole his shoes. And here
Yeah.
goes the sneakerhead thing starting at a beginning, an early age too.
That's where it all stems from. That's
Where it
where
all
it all
came from.
stems
And
from.
the cops came to my house. I could have got arrested, but the cop pretty much gave me a break and was like, stupid little kid doing dumb shit, and was like pretty much brushed it under the rug. But that was my first actual run-in with the law, was at that young age. And when I started drinking and smoking weed and all that, it was not long until I got my, first underage drinking charge and prohibition and
Yeah.
underage
So let
consumption.
me let me ask you real quick. So
Yeah,
9 years old, you have cops show up and knocking on your door.
yeah.
What was going through your head? And afterwards, were you kind of in like a fuck you, like fuck the police, I'm still gonna do what I want? Did it scare you? Were you shook
Yeah,
up? Were
I
you
would say I was a little shook. But once again, I was, I still didn't want to give up the shoes.
yeah.
I had them stashed outside, in a little hiding spot, like a true criminal. And then pretty much when it came time, I was more bummed about giving up the shoes than I was the cops being at my house. You know what I
Right.
mean? So that's that kind of criminal thinking already kind of taking shape
Yeah.
in my head at that young age, and looking back, it's like, damn, it just really kind of blows your mind how, you can really kind of see your mind at work, at that
Yeah.
young age, kind of really shaping those basic morals and ideals, you
Yeah.
got going on. And
Well, and just to touch on that real quick, it's fucking wild because like going back to family life, like my family and your family, my mom always tried to communicate. My mom would try and talk. And I made a comment online the other day. I was like, it's the fear of disappointment that kind of drives you away from your family and the ones that you love. So at that young age, you're so afraid of them finding out, but you're still on that like kick of bucking against authority, but that fear drives you to like lie and cheat and everything else so they don't find out. It's that fear of disappointment. But it's just wild to me, um because like I said, my mom, she tried to communicate, like she tried to, you know what I mean.
Mhm.
So okay, so cops come to your house, you're you got the sneaker stashed, I'm assuming you gave them back. So this
I
progressed
did.
for this progressed. So I was when I actually first met you, when you got put in my cell in county, I was about I think I was about 30 years old. 20 I was 29.
Mm,
Um tell me what happened when things let up and you started going to county and doing county stints and things like that.
yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, I did some long stints in juvenile, leading up to that. I got possession charges when I was, young, and I was doing 90 day stints in juvie, which is like the longest you can do in
Yeah.
county juvenile until you get sent to ODYS, and I was already getting sent to treatment facilities and all that before I even became an adult. So I had months and months, probably almost a year in by the time I even hit 18,
Yeah.
for all my juvenile stints. And then, I mean, I think literally not even I'm talking like days, maybe a week or two after I turned 18, I did my first stint in county. It was that quick,
Okay.
right when I graduated, it was boom, okay, right to county. And yeah, I mean, literally not a week into my 18th year on this earth, I was, started going to county. And uh and at least most of my criminal history, if not all of it, is all indirectly or directly related to drugs or alcohol,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what it turned into. Was Didn't really get any serious charges until I was about, well, serious to me and you maybe, like uh so I was probably in my like early to mid 20s. Then I started kind of really getting in the weeds. So yeah, I mean, I caught some felonies, possession, got caught with a bunch of drug paraphernalia and shit. I was looking at a couple of years, and then I got thrown out for illegal search and seizure after it went through the courts and stuff. So I kind of lucked out there. But yeah, I mean, I was a classic, 9 by 12 prayer guy. I'd get locked up and be like, oh, please God, I won't do it again. I
Yeah.
swear, get me out of this one, and then
Yep.
I was right when I hit the gate, man. It was like, all that shit went right out the window, and I was right back to doing what I wanted to do.
I remember my very first I remember my very first county stint, and I was in there for fucking kiting a check. And I I remember I went to court, and I don't remember the kid's name, but him and I were we were sitting in the holding cells up in the Portage County courthouse. We were up there all morning because we got transferred from the jail. I didn't think I was going home. Well, they gave me a whatever it's called, where basically you get out. It was a PR bond. The judge gave me a PR
Mhm.
bond. So we're on the way back, and I was in the van going back to county, and this kid turns around and he's like, so what are you doing when you get out? And I was like, oh, I'm going to get a bag of dope. I'm going to get a bag of dope. Like, I don't give a fuck, but I was the same way. Like, I'm in jail the whole time, and I remember being laying against that nasty fucking wall, like just staring at that wall and just
Mhm.
praying the whole time I was there. God, just let me get out of here. This is terrible. Please, God, let me. Um, and then
Yeah,
yeah, we're on the way back, and the kid's like, "Hey, what are you doing when you get out?" And I was like, "Shit, I'm going to get some dope."
yeah, buddy. Yeah,
um,
that's how it was, man. Over and over and over and over again, and yeah, once again, I was in and out of so many different facilities, just repeatedly, that it just became part of your life.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, how long am I going to be? And then when it gets to the point where you're locked up somewhere more than you're on the street, it's like obviously there's something fucking going on here. So
Yeah.
that's and from a pretty young age, I already knew. Uh, I was always like, oh, when I'm 25, I'm gonna get my shit together. It's just a phase. This
Yeah.
is just a phase I'm going through. And 25 hit. I was like, oh, 27, I'll get my shit together, and it just kept just perpetuating, itself. It was always just a phase I was going through, and I was going to snap out of it any minute. And sure enough, shit just kept staying the same because I wasn't doing anything different, you
Yeah.
know. So that's just
Okay.
what it was.
No, man, I get it. And I remember I used to go to meetings and I would be sitting there the whole time and I would just be like this, like I couldn't envision myself. That mindset at the time was, how could living a life in sobriety and how could you be happy doing that? Like I was always masking like all my emotions with the dope and the alcohol and everything else. And I remember I being in those meetings because I was on papers, I had to go. I remember sitting there like, how in the fuck can these people be happy? Like, how can somebody live their whole life and never do drugs ever again and think that that like I never understood it. It was wild to me.
Doesn't
Um,
sound any fun.
no, it doesn't sound any fun. And then like you get, and I've noticed as I've gotten older, and obviously like I've gotten out of the drug scene and so on and so forth. And I'm not going to get on here in front. I mean, we were just at your wedding. I still drink periodically, like on the weekends, but it's not to the point where it's affecting my life and controlling my life anymore. But the drugs, it was just always wild. I would seek drugs to feel quote unquote happy, and all it was doing was just, it was killing me. It was killing me mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. Um, but yeah, man. So
And
um,
and another thing with me too is like at a pretty young age, I was selling drugs too and
yeah,
shit, and that of course started off all fine and dandy, and just like my progression with doing drugs and alcohol or whatever, that progressed right along with it. I started selling harder and harder shit, and you see the clientele shift, and then you also get somewhat addicted to that kind of lifestyle, the easy
oh
money,
yeah,
all that shit, and then it got to a point where I was doing all the fucking shit I was selling,
yeah,
not all of it, but I was partaking in all the fucking drugs that I sold to other
yeah,
people and shit. And then, when the dust settled, I was still the one partying and shit, and everyone else was going off and getting their shit together and getting married and going to school or getting good jobs and having kids or whatever. And I was, still just fucking the guy at the party, still kicking it, and that just, obviously didn't end too well in the end. But people change, obviously, and
well, that's primarily the goal of the show, is just to show everybody, and we only obviously tell those stories for reference because obviously we've made great lives for ourselves. You yourself have made a fucking amazing comeback and an amazing life for yourself. And that was why in the group chat when I initially pitched this idea to you guys, you were one of the first people I wanted on. There was like four people that popped in my mind immediately, and I was like, all four of these dudes are my homies. They've all made great lives for themselves. I have to get them on.
right.
I look up to you, man. You're a fucking hard worker. You learned your lesson. You push through adversity. You have that do or die attitude now, and those are, I can't stress enough when I'm kind of talking to people on here. Like those are the guys. You are the five people you surround yourself with on a daily basis. My cousin
Mhm.
taught me that. And so, I talked to you and I talked to Jared, I talked to Nick, and I talked to my cousin, and I talked to these guys. and they're just solid fucking guys. They all have their shit together, and that's the point. That's one of the points I try to get across and beat into people's heads. Um, that's just you have to surround yourself with good people. So okay, and that's what I want to focus on. I only go through the old criminal history and stuff like that just to give everybody a frame of reference of where people were at. I know that's kind of like a hot topic with a lot of people, but you know, there's if you want the juicy, dirty, gritty details of prison, there's other podcasts out there you can go listen to.
Right.
This is solely I don't want the dirt. I mean, I want some of it just to give frame of reference, but so your first time in jail, I do want to talk about not your first time in jail, but when you and I met. So we got bunked up together, and I think I had been in there. To be honest with you, I did like 6 months in county before I went to prison. So do you remember what your charges were when you got? Because I don't remember what your charges were when we
Yeah,
met.
I had a felony 3, 4, and a 5.
Okay.
It was illegal assembly, possession with intent to distribute, and then a possession charge. Um, yeah, I mean, I was selling dope and shit, and obviously doing the dope too. And I got caught with, probably 20 grams of fentanyl, and then a bunch of cut and scales and
Yeah.
utensils to bag shit up or whatever. And uh, I was at one of my little dope houses, getting ready to bag shit up, and I fucking did some and fucking fell out. You know what I mean?
Oh, and paramedics came.
Oh yeah, yeah, and
Oh shit.
that's how I got arrested and shit. Did a little fucking match tip, and hit the dust, and cops came, paramedics came, all that shit, and yeah, I mean that's kind of how that started. And then uh, I kept going. I got released on like investigation
Yeah, like
for
yeah.
my hearing shit, PSI shit, whatever, and got released, and then I was waiting to go to court for all these charges or whatever, and then I fucking fell out again just a couple fucking weeks later doing the same shit, and then they didn't let me go after that one, you
Yeah.
know. So I was out, went back, and then yeah, I was in. This was after you had gotten out, because I think you had came back from a judicial or something, didn't you? That when you were waiting, or was that before you wrote
No,
out?
so I never came back for a judicial, but they had some funny shit where I had to go. Basically, they brought me back. I sat, or actually, no, I went straight to NeoCap. Um,
Mm.
they took me straight from prison to NeoCap, and I had to do 3 months in like a treatment facility before I hit the streets, which was fucking stupid. That was the dumbest shit because it's an in lieu of treatment. It's an in lieu of facility. Like you're supposed to go there instead of prison, and they brought me back to NeoCap.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think when I was there, it was you and I met. I was about to go down the road.
yeah,
I was in the middle of my court shit. So
yeah, and yeah, dude. So I was down.
how much time were you in there? That because you were still there when I left, right? I think you and I
mm,
were actually bunkies when I rode out. I
yep,
think
yep, yep, and then
on my birthday, they
oh
rode me
yeah,
out on my 30th birthday.
yeah, and then I came out, went back in. I was in there for probably 5.5 months or something.
Okay.
And then I rode out to NeoCap,
Okay.
and then I was there for 120 days, 4 months or something. And
Yeah.
then so during this whole process of me going in this time, I had no fight left in me, you
Yeah.
know. I mean, I was waving the white flag. I mean, I beat myself into a state of reasonableness, they say. You know what I mean? I just
Yeah.
got so sick and tired of beating my head off the wall. And just going through the same shit. And
So I have to stop you real quick and just
yeah.
ask what was the moment that, because I ask everybody that was dealing with drugs.
Well, when I fucking OD'd that last time, my fucking son was there.
Okay.
Uh, but I can't say that that's exactly what did that for me, because I drug everyone through the fucking mud for years and didn't give a shit. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's really hard to say, but I truly believe that, a higher power of some sort stepped in on my behalf and was like, hey,
It's time.
um, yeah, dude, because if it was up to me, I would have ran,
Yeah.
because I had a chance to dip out on court um that time and shit, and I didn't. Um so that's what happened. And I could have got out of going to neo cap. I had a paid attorney, you know what I mean? I could have wiggled out of it, but once again, I was so sick of fighting. I was like, just have your way with me at this point, because I was so just sick and tired of living that kind of lifestyle, and that's kind of when it all really started for me. I started actually taking some accountability for myself and my actions, and I could even got out of going to the root house afterwards, because I went to the root house after neocap, and I knew the further removed I could get myself from my current situation, the more chance I'd have at succeeding. And so I went through the motions. I went to neocap. At this point, I've been locked up for almost a year. I go to the root house for 90 days, which is a kind of an inpatient treatment facility. And
You would have
then
been one of the first residents there then, right?
I was. So this was
Yeah.
actually the second time that I went back to the root house this time. Because I was one of the first groups to open up the doors there a couple years prior. Obviously it didn't fucking work out for me, because I wasn't done doing what Tyler wants to do. And then even after the root house, which I didn't have to, I chose to go to the otter house, which is like I guess you could call it like a halfway house or a three-quarter way house of some sort or whatever.
Yeah.
And I even stayed there, and I was just so terrified to go back to how I was living that I kind of ran out of fear for a while. But what it really came down to, man, was like, because I know the system, especially in the United States, is pretty rigged against us as reoffenders.
Yeah.
We have the highest recidivism rate in the world, at I think like 45% of people reoffend in the first year, and then 76% reoffend in the next 5 years.
Yeah,
So
it's 89% of people that have been incarcerated go back to jail or prison within 10 years. It's 89%. And
yeah. So
obviously it's way higher on the front end because it's all people know. Like society builds this stigma against felons, and it's no second chance. It's no, like, they can preach like, oh, well, we hire felons, second chances, blah blah blah. But yeah, man, the first, like you said, I don't know what did you say the first
so in
number
the
was?
first year, it's like 45%. And
Okay,
then
so
in the
half.
first 5 years, it's
Yeah,
76%. And then, like you said, it goes higher as the years go by, and then it's
yeah.
89% in 10 years. So I mean, it's almost like you're destined for a relapse,
Well, and that was, like I said, that was another reason I really wanted to do this, because people don't understand that there are guys out there that make it out on the back end and make great
Absolutely.
lives for themselves. Uh,
Absolutely. And
so I want to speak on something real quick though. You made a comment of you were more afraid of the life than you were really going back to prison or jail, and I only want to touch on that because I think that's a common denominator in a lot of guys, like coming and having the realization they're fucking through. I was one of them too. I was more afraid. I joke with Mary all the time. I'm like, I'll go back to fucking prison. I give a shit. Like, prison was like, yeah, it was fucked up. It was high stress, but you had no responsibilities. It was like
oh
day
no,
camp
yeah,
for
absolutely.
adult toddlers, but it's the fear of the life, like you said. and being exhausted of struggling to get by on a day-to-day basis, being homeless, being fucking stressed out, being dope sick. Like that shit doesn't even hold a flame to our lives right now. So I appreciate that you said that.
You
Uh,
make your own walls outside of the walls. You
yeah,
know, that's what happens. You almost get a sense of relief when you go away and get locked up at a, you get your daily life gets so fucked up to a point where you get a sense of relief when you get
one
locked.
structure.
Yeah,
Even if it's minimal structure and they are
yeah.
dictating every move you make, it's structure.
And that's a fucked up thing to think about,
Yeah.
how you almost get to the point where you can rest a little more when you're locked up,
Oh
when
yeah.
and you're worried about being on the streets more, because that's kind of when that term institutionalized starts coming into play, because you feel more comfortable when you're away from your daily life on the outside than you are even being on the streets.
Yeah, it's fucking wild.
Yeah,
It's still yeah.
yeah, so that's but really what it came down to, even though the odds were stacked against me and other people, it really came, I remember having a conversation with myself like, dude, grow the fuck up.
Yeah.
you know that's honestly like some people find God or a higher power or 12-step recovery, which is all great, and I have utilized some of those resources as well. But at the end of the day, it really came down to, man, like, sacking the fuck up. Like, dude, quit fucking blaming everyone else for your problems. I was always blaming the judges, the POs, my parents for some reason, or this guy, oh, it's because of him I'm in this position. I had to really reflect and look inwards on myself before I really started making any changes, and I started accepting accountability for my actions, and really started shifting my perception to what part I had to play in on all of my fucking decisions I had made in my life.
Yeah.
Until I started shifting my perception towards that direction is really when my life started to change for the better, and because when I had got out that last time, man, I had, the odds were not in my favor. I mean, I had fines out the ass, restitution, 5 years of paper, um, and I sat there and said, like, am I gonna fucking find someone else to blame for this shit, or am I gonna put my fucking big boy pants on and start changing my life? And I remember vividly having that conversation with myself, and I just remember a voice saying, like, grow the fuck up.
Yeah.
And then ever since that day, man, like, I've just been in an intense just journey on learning more about myself and bettering my life and putting things into place, like what you said, man. A huge thing is um changing my surroundings, whether that's people or places I go, or even down to little decisions of how I choose to treat other people.
Yes.
you know
Yes.
it makes a
Yes.
huge impact on the trajectory that I've taken in my life. And that's what it came down to, man. And then, dude, I did like 3,000 hours of community service to pay off all my fines. I would have never ever done that. I'd have been like, catch me when you can, like,
Yep.
that's just how I was. I was like, I ain't paying that shit. I'm not, giving you a dime. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. And everyone from the outside looking in, which were skeptical for good reason. You know what I mean? We're like, oh, Tyler's going to do good for 3 months. Like, he only acts right when he gets a
I
note
remember
from
the
the
betting
judge.
board when I came home. I
Yeah,
remember the betting boards.
oh
My
yeah,
whole family had bets going.
yeah, yeah. And like, he only starts acting right when he gets a nudge from the judge. Which was
Yep.
true. I would do just enough to get everyone off my back. And but then when I actually started making better decisions for myself, is when that change kind of started to happen. Um, got
No,
my
I. Oh, go
done.
ahead.
Yeah, I got my community service done. I mean, that took months and months. Got my license back, and I really had to start breaking shit down into small little piles, to achieve it one at a time, because that was another reason why I would recidivize or go back out or continue down kind of a criminal way of thinking, was because I would get overwhelmed. I would be like, there's no fucking use. I got all this shit I have to do. I'm never going to get it done. Fuck this. I'm getting high. I'm fucking whatever. You know
No,
what I mean?
it's I want to, and I want to just touch on that real quick because it's fucking wild that they put that amount of stress on people coming home, especially in the aspect of you're coming home without a job. They know you're going to get a minimal bullshit ass job. They know you have fucked up relationships with probably most of the people that would have normally given you a place to stay. Most of them don't have a car, but like most guys have lost everything. And they're
Everything.
putting them
Yeah.
out on the streets with thousands of dollars of fines, no place to live, no help for places to
No,
live,
no skills to
no
get a
skill
better
sets to
job.
do anything. And
Yeah.
it's like, hey, we want the Uncle Sam wants his fucking money. That's
Yeah.
I hate the state that the system's in.
Yeah.
I think
It's
it's
rough.
complete yeah, it's completely stacked against anybody. And
Yeah.
that's why I love stories like yours and mine and all the guys that I'm having on here, because it gets to that point where you take all that energy, at least I did. I took all that energy, all that hate that I had for myself, all that just bullshit that was welled up inside. And I basically focused it on, I'm gonna say fuck society, but I'm gonna do it in a positive way. And I'm gonna show them, hey, fuck you, I can do this, and other guys can do this. You know what I mean? Once you take that energy and you kind of redirect it, it's crazy how much energy and how productive you can be as a drug addict. Like drug addicts, convicts, criminals are the most resourceful, sneaky, like talk. You know what I mean? Like they learn how to live the streets. Like they can be, if they can be the most productive members of society, and they can be great at any skill set that they want to take on if they just redirect all that energy, because it takes so much energy to go into being a fucking drug addict, criminal piece of shit. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And while you mentioned that, and that was another thing that I had to do, is I started asking for help when I needed it. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah,
there was some people that helped me along the way, maybe not financially or in a way that would normally come to mind when you say I was asking for help. But I started utilizing all those resources that were at my fingertips, in a positive way, instead of utilizing the negative ones that we were used
yeah,
to kind of doing. And I mean, we could go on and on about how the system's fucked up and all
yeah,
this shit, but just to briefly touch on it, like I watched this documentary years ago with Elton Brand, that British dude or whatever, and he was taking a walk on the side of like how they do it in Europe, where they rehabilitate people, and they have these like little villages where they have like all the facilities in one kind of compound, where you go to jail, you go straight to an apartment on the grounds, and they teach you how to do they have different places where they manufacture or have little coffee shops or whatever on this compound, and they teach you a skill. They give you housing, and then you move into different housing which has more freedom and less restrictions, and you go to work, and it's like
it's reintegration. It's what
yeah,
it's
yeah.
supposed to be.
And when you shove
It's
someone in a box and you say, oh, hey, you need to make all these changes, but we're not even
We're not going to help you do any of
presenting
it.
you with
Yeah,
anything to solidify those changes, then it's like, what do you expect? But we also need to, at least I had to personally, I don't want to speak for everyone else, but there it is still very possible to make changes and to stick with something. It's just, yeah, will it be a little harder than certain places? Absolutely, but it's very possible. It's just you got to pretty much quit making fucking excuses, and
yeah.
and
Well,
you
you
just
said it.
do
It
it.
all boils down to accountability.
Yeah, you
Once
got
you
to
can
do it.
become, once you're accountable for your actions, and once you realize you are the root of the problem, and you realize, and I want to touch on too, because it's actually it is an AA thing. It's the whole self change theory. Nothing changes if nothing changes.
Right.
I remember being on the prison yard, and those guys would just holler that all day long. Like the boys would be over on the pull up bar. Nothing changes if nothing changes. and I'd be like, shut the fuck up. But like hearing that day after day, once you're accountable, once you realize you have to completely change yourself and transform who you are, you have to take responsibility for your actions. You have to like rebuild relationships. You have to learn to love yourself. You have to learn to live with yourself. You know what I mean? Once you learn that you have to completely change yourself, and once you actually, and it's hard, dude. You
Yeah,
know it's hard.
yeah.
Um, but that's where the actual change happens, and that's where the success comes from. So,
I got
oh
and I just had gotten like addicted to the grind, because
yeah,
when I first had gotten out, I was like, oh, why doesn't my family trust me? I've been doing good for 30 days, and then but
I've been home a week and I haven't touched
right,
drugs. Why
right,
don't you guys love me yet?
yeah, like you need to get me a whole new wardrobe. You need to. I'm like, dude, and like just to sit back and look how my mind used to fucking work. It's like almost makes you sick. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It's like, and then uh I loved putting in the work to rebuild those relationships when my perception had changed. I was like, I
yeah,
want to earn this. You know what I mean? And because I lost trust in buckets, and I was okay with getting it back in drops. You know what
yeah,
I mean? Just one drip at a time, one drip at
yeah.
a time, one drip
I
at a time.
I will tell you, and for anybody listening, the most, and I just posted a thing on Facebook yesterday, and I had this because I wanted to talk to you about this, the whole rebuilding relationships. And there's a couple points I want to touch on. So, just like you said, I'm okay with getting it back in drops. And for the last 10 years, I've been getting it back in drops. And now it's like an overflowing of the bucket.
Mhm.
I have rebuilt relationships with my mother, with my sister, I'm starting to with my older brother and sister a little bit. Friends that I heard over the years, like I've made those amends, and you don't have to do it in the AA style, but it's it's rebuilding relationships. And my mother was the biggest one. Like I hurt my mom so much. My dad had just passed, and I went completely down the rabbit hole. I took things from my mom. I hurt my mom. It was tears, pleading. It was just it was awful, dude. And
Yeah.
now, like I said on Facebook yesterday, I just posted. I talk to my mother for an hour every day, and I'm not talking. We breathe in the phone. It's laughing. It's joking. It's her telling me I'm an asshole driver, like cussing at people. Like it's fun and it's good, wholehearted conversation. And I literally got off the phone with her yesterday. She talked to me all the way from outside of Columbus all the way home. So for about 2 hours and 20 minutes, solid conversation the whole time. And I literally got off the phone and I was so full of just love and acceptance. And it's kind of one of those things like you rebuild those relationships and you can now look at them and see them and you're like, this is all I need. Like this feels way better to me than sticking a needle in my arm and getting high. You know what I mean? That's what drives me now, is like being better to people, making the next best decision, doing the next best thing. But I want to talk about you too, because I was just at your wedding last week, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
um I had an opportunity to talk with your dad. Your dad's a great guy. I love your dad. And
Mhm.
I just want to focus on this one point real quick. Watching you with your family, and I did it all night. I kept watching you because it's one of those, you have rebuilt relationships with your family. And I got your dad out in the parking lot and I was having a conversation with him. And I told him, I said, I just love your son. I said, he's a great guy. I consider him one of my best friends. And I said, I wanted to thank you because you know what and I thanked your dad. I was like, it takes a special person to live through that kind of bullshit and put up with it for so long. And your dad literally looked at me and said, well, it's like he put in the work. You know what I mean? Um, so tell me about what it was like to like rebuild some of those relationships. Like obviously your family looks at you like you are great now. And they should, because you're a great dude. So tell me what it took and like what that was like and what it's like now to actually have those kind of back on your plate.
Man. Action. Period. You know,
Yeah.
there's no words or anything you can say to someone to undo the hurt, that you put through a family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and just you're not having expectations was very important, you know, because they have to heal and kind of come back into your life on their own terms, you know. If you try to force anything in this type of new life you're trying to live, you know, you're going to be, you know, you're going to be upset
Disappointed.
rather quickly.
Yeah.
um, so I just kept putting in the work, you know, action. Like I said, man, that can really just sum it up all in one word, you know. It's no more of this, you know, because I was really good at this,
Oh yeah.
you know. But until I started putting my feet on the pavement, you know, and trudging through what I had to do, and I let them come back on their own terms, which is what has made these relationships that are now back in my life so strong. You know, it's like I let them come back in when they were ready, and I put faith in what I was doing was going to rebuild these relationships, and I was also had to accept that maybe some of these relationships will never be rebuilt.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, honestly, that's what it's a hard pill to swallow, but you can't expect someone else to receive you with open arms after you shit on them repeatedly over
Yeah.
and over and over again, you know. And I had to tell myself, like, hey, I'm going to do everything I can in my power, you know, to uh, kind of, you know, grace myself with the presence of this person in my life again. But, you know, I have to accept, though, that it may not, it's not going to be on my terms. It's not going to be on my terms. And, it took years and years, you know. It's no, I can't expect to reverse 25 years of uh
Yep.
decisions that I've made and how I treated other people and how it affected them to be reversed in a short period of time. I mean, it's absolutely asinine, you know, to think uh shit works that way, you know. But once again, I keep just going back to that word action, you know. That's all it's really about, dude. Like no one's gonna sit here and listen to you bumping your gums anymore, you know. It's gonna show
Yeah.
me, show me you love me, show me you care, you know. And nowadays, you know, like kind of to touch on the conversation you had with your mom the other day for hours, you know, and that's the type of conversations I can have now today with my family, because they're, you know, they used to always be waiting for what's this motherfucker's angle,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh
why is he
yeah.
taking pictures? You know, like they're waiting for the shoe to drop, like, oh hey, by the way, since I got you on the phone,
Can I have $100?
yeah, you know, or some shit. And uh did you see them genuinely just happy that to be able to call me their son or their brother or their friend? I mean, that's the biggest blessing I've received in this new life that I live, as because I was the type of dude, I didn't get invited somewhere more than once, you know.
Yeah.
Like don't he's like, don't have that fucking guy ever come back here again, you know. And now people want me to be around them, you know, and that alone is just like mind blowing to me, because I was never that dude that anyone wanted anywhere, even in their vicinity. You know what I mean? Um, and I had to be my own support in the beginning. You know, don't get me wrong. There were some people that, you know, helped lift me up or whatever, you know, but I couldn't expect mommy to be like, oh, you're doing so good, buddy. You know,
Yeah.
keep on trucking. You know that.
No, because she's still looking at you side
Yeah,
eye. Like, when
yeah.
the fuck is this all gonna
So
fall apart?
it's so hard to touch on all the things that um relationships kind of 'cause I mean that's what life is essentially,
Yeah.
is, you know, how you treat other people, and the people you have in your life. You know, that's what life consists of, in my opinion, you know, because everything I do isn't worth it if I can't share it with the people that I love, you know, my friends, my family, you know. And I got emotional when I got here to Aruba, you know. I sat here on this balcony looking at the beach and teared up, you know, because it's like, damn, dude, like I would never be here if it wasn't for my family and bettering my life, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? And like I said, I can go on and on about that, but
Well, I think I know you're selling yourself short too, because I mean, as I've said 20 times, and I'll say it 20 more times, you're a good dude, man. Like, yeah, the all the change happens within. It's
yeah,
not necessarily. Yes, it's great to have that support, and the support helps, especially over time when, like I said, your bucket starts to fill over because you've put in the work. You know what I mean? That's one of my driving like factors now is I can be a great person and see the rewards back just from people appreciating that I don't have an angle, that I'm being loving and I'm being caring and I'm being respectful. You know what I mean?
mhm,
But I also, you have put in the work. Like you have changed yourself. You have changed your emotional state, your physical state, you know what I mean? So
right,
don't
absolutely,
sell yourself short on that either. And I want to make that a point too. Yes, it's great to have support, and it's amazing when the support actually shows and you can benefit from it. But it all starts with you putting in the work.
no, for sure.
Um, so okay, so that was all really good shit. Tell me about so tell me about getting into. So you are a master arborist at this point, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so you're certified, you took the tests. You are also going to school for your master's degree in horticulture?
I'm about to finish my bachelor's degree in botany,
Botany, that was it. I'm
and
sorry.
then I plan on getting my master's. But yeah, I'm still working on the bachelor's right now.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
So I don't know some of the chem questions and shit that you send our group. I'm looking at
Yeah.
them and I'm like, this dude's I couldn't. I thought it was like master's shit. That's what I thought
Right,
because the
right.
shit
Yeah, pretty
looked
much. Might as
difficult.
well be. Shit.
So what made you get into doing tree work, and what I mean, talk about the mentality, the do or die, because bro, you are a fucking worker. Like you're a hard fucking worker. You came out and took some trees down in my yard for me, and the whole time I'm just watching you kind of like in awe, because the Tyler that I knew when I first got out was not yoked as fuck. He was not jacked. He was not in amazing shape. He was not a worker. He was. So explain what that transition was like, going from coming home, not having anything going for you, and what kind of mentality and mental state you had, and drive you had to get you where you're at now.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, when I got out, tree work, at least on the initial look in, isn't too desirable of a job. So that was the only work I could even get, you know.
Okay.
But guess what? I wasn't gonna let that be like, oh, fuck that. I'm just gonna go back to selling drugs or whatever. I took it in stride. I was buried in child support. You know what I mean? But I was tired of taking shortcuts first and foremost, So I started with a smaller company, just a little mom and pop tree company, and kind of worked my way up too, and until I kind of hit my ceiling there. And I never been the one to want to settle for mediocrity, but so that kind of initially drove me. But I wanted all this shit, but wasn't willing to put the work in.
Yeah.
And so I kind of, took the lesson from my dad. He's like, in the working world, man, that's not how it works, so you gotta start here to get here. You can't just skip A through D and, whatever. And so I did that. I always wanted to go back to school, but because of my, lifestyle choices at the time and me having kids kind of at a younger age, I was kind of launched into the working slash earning kind of world kind of early on, and I always let fear and excuses hold me back from going to school, because I always did well in school when I actually wanted to participate. And so once again, like other facets of my life, I got tired of making those excuses. I was like, why am I not going to school, you know uh because deep down I thought I couldn't, I didn't think I was afraid of failing, you know. So I had to throw that out the window too early on. And so then I ended up getting a job at you know, one of the biggest street companies in the world, pretty much. I started off at 12 something an hour. You know, I'm not making shit,
Yeah.
you know.
And you're
Uh,
paying child support. You're paying, yeah.
and but I had to humble myself, you know. That was another thing too. It's like I would always walk in the room and like, you know, do you know who I think I fucking am? You know, motherfucker, who are you? You know,
I
like
love that. I've never heard that before.
yeah, but
Do you
you
know
know
who I
shit.
think I fucking am?
Yeah, like I had to humble myself, man, and realize like, hey, man, like no one knows who the fuck goddamn Tyler Griffith is, and no one gives a fuck.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so you know, I took on the worker bee mentality, and I worked my way up, through you know, obviously showing up every day, doing my job, excelling at my job, you know, and yeah, I just had to, you know, go from the bottom, and I had to humble myself because a lot of times I feel like where a lot of guys stumble is, you know, they get out and they had that sense of entitlement, like the world owes them something, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, man, they don't, you know, no one owes you shit.
Well, and you saying that, I appreciate you saying that because one of my big mindsets nowadays is, and part of the reason for this cast, like this whole podcast project is I took so much and it's humbling myself and it's getting rid of that whole entitlement that I carried with me, that sense of entitlement that I carried with me, because it's one of those I took so much from my community and society for the last 20, 25 years. Now I'm in the mindset of what can I give back? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I need to bust my ass every day. I need to do the next best thing. I need to do what I need to kill myself to make sure my family's good. I need to, you know what I mean? It's humbling yourself, just like you said, and getting rid of that sense of entitlement. So I
Yeah.
love that you said that.
Yeah. And then, you know, I got my class A CDL, you know, I moved up in the ranks. you know, became a foreman. And I just kept driving, man. I started school. I was working all day, going to school all night, you know, and wouldn't get home till 11 o'clock at night, you know. I did that for 2 years. COVID came about. I had to switch online, found out that I liked online school better because it worked better with my schedule.
Yeah.
Uh, Went to all online, exhausted all my options at the college I was going to, and found another university that offered my degree 100% online. I wouldn't have to step foot in a classroom, transferred schools, which was a fucking pain in the ass. Um, I got ISA certified as an arborist, became a project manager for some really big projects that my company had going on in different states. Um, and but honestly, to backtrack a little bit, man, all this shit sounds all fine and dandy, but man, it honestly came down to just what's the next thing? What's the
Yeah.
next?
Goals.
Because once again, I cannot reiterate enough, like how overwhelming it can be to see where you want to be and what you're going to have to do to get there. I had to break it down into small increments. Like, okay, what's next? Boom, tackle that. What's next? Boom, tackle that. And that's what I've been doing for almost 8 years now. You know,
And I have to say too, though, when you hit those small milestones, you have to celebrate yourself. You have to be proud of yourself. It can't be, you can't constantly look at the top of the mountain and tell yourself, how am I going to get there? You know what I mean? And
and
you
that's
can't
something I
hit,
struggle with, to be honest with you, because I don't quit. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And
Oh, I
which
know
is
you don't.
a curse.
It's exhausting for me to watch you
It's a gift
sometimes.
and it's a curse at the same time. You know, because
Yeah.
right now this is honestly the first time in probably that 8 year period that I've truly been able to fucking relax. You know,
Yeah. No,
which
we've
is
talked about it.
good.
Yeah.
It's not good, to be honest, because I need to learn how to take more me time, you know, to be honest. That's one thing that I've constantly struggled with over my journey is taking time for these smaller milestones to set some actual time aside to dedicate to doing nothing. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it's it's I love it about me, but then I hate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a real juggling act. You know what I mean?
Well, and when I say celebrating milestones, like you have made a hell of a climb. Um, what I was getting at is, just be proud of yourself when you
Yeah,
hit the little milestones. And we've talked in the group chat, like you don't take time for yourself. You know what I mean? But you haven't burned out yet, but we've had those conversations of, there's going to come a point where you're going to burn out. And I think what you just said, I think you're realizing it. Because like you said, you got on the patio or the balcony of the suite and you're like, this is the first time that I have taken a break. And we laugh in the group chat, like you're going to go nuts. You're going to be out in the
yeah.
you're going to be out on the beach trying to figure out what palm tree you could chop down with an axe. Like, but no, I think it's great you took the time to go. And yeah, it is. You have to celebrate. You have to take time for yourself, and I think that's super important.
No,
Um,
absolutely. Most definitely is. That's something I have gotten better with this year. But there's always work to be done,
yeah, it ain't going anywhere,
on
man.
yourself. Yeah. I was kind of more referring to yourself, you know what I mean? There's always improvements that can be made. And just being aware of that is half the battle. You know what I mean? It's like, hey man, like I don't know everything. I'm still learning, and you have to keep that student mentality through life, is always trying to evolve and to learn new things, whether it's about outside knowledge or yourself, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
It's pivoting. I
yeah,
I like to I like to I like to focus on the word pivot and becoming a pivot guy or a pivot man because all through just to rewind it back a little bit, you're always going to run into situations, jobs, so on and so forth, where somebody's going to tell you no because of your felony, your background, your drug addiction. What if you know what I mean? It's all public record. So
mm,
I've always, since I've come home, had the mentality of, hey, I might be doing this over here, but I've got this on the back burner. And if this kind of I mean, I was an operations manager for fucking 8 years. And then I always had in the back of my mind, I'm like, dude, I can get into trucking if shit ever hits the fan. Well, shit hit the fan, and I was like, well, fuck it. I'm pivoting, going. I had my CDL in 3 months, and I drive truck now. You know what I mean? You always have to have another plan, and you always have to be, like you said, going for the next best thing or being able to pivot.
yeah,
So,
yeah, just kind of all these smaller goals and better choices you start making just culminate into what life looks like today. You know what
yeah,
I mean? It's really easy to get lost in the weeds and be, oh, well, you're here and you were there, but how? You know what I mean? And that's really what it comes down to is all these small changes, expound upon one another, and
yeah.
culminate into what life can be and definitely will be if you start making better decisions and really,
No,
really.
there's a saying. I don't know who said it, but I've carried it with me for the last 10 years, and it's the man on top of the mountain didn't just appear there.
Yeah.
It's he obviously, you know what I mean. It takes work to get to the top of the mountain. It takes dedication. It takes perseverance. It takes drive. Um,
Hmm.
and those are the key points that I will continually hit on while we do this project because if you don't just get in that mindset like you have, you're never going to appear. You're not just going to appear on the top of the mountain. All right, so you're killing the work game, you're killing the family game, you got a beautiful family, beautiful wife, you got a great job, and you've put in all the work yourself, your mental state, and I want to talk about physical fitness real quick because you, like myself, are another gym junkie. You make time for the gym, you've made it part of your life. The Tyler that I knew when I came home was not the Tyler that is. I always tell people, I'm like, my boy Ty looks like Popeye with a beard. He's got forearms that are like the size of tree trunks. um, I remember when I remember I came up to see you, and we've been hanging out for a while, dude. And it was
Mhm.
when I met you down at you were doing some tree work, and I pulled in to say hi at the outpost. And you came around the corner, and you reached out to shake my hand, and dude, I looked down at your forearms. And I got back in the truck, and I looked at my wife, and I was like, "That motherfucker's forearms are bigger than my thighs, dude." Like, um,
Yeah, almost
so
climbing fucking trees, man.
so what I mean on a physical level, tell me how important it is for you to physically. I mean, obviously you do tree work, so you're going to stay in shape, but you still hit the gym a lot. Like you still, and that's becoming a gym junkie, a gym rat, whatever, has been one of the main factors in me staying better, becoming better, recovering, so on and so forth. It's something that I will not give up. It makes me feel good about myself. So tell me how, why you're still killing it in the gym too. I mean, obviously you get exercise outside, but
Right. Yeah, man. I've always been an athlete, so I mean that's kind of been my kind of foundation as far as that goes. And just as I changed my life, I started also gaining back the things that I love doing and just quit doing. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And staying in shape was definitely one of them. But you know, obviously, we can break down all the scientific evidence that proves that you know doing any type of weight training or aerobic exercises releases certain endorphins, which mimics kind of us putting other substances into our body. I mean, you can't ignore the science on that just alone. So obviously, working out is going to give you, you know, because what we do is we, you know, suppress our serotonin production. You know, once we um, mimic that chemically to release these certain things in our body. So working out obviously does, you know, does that for me. And honestly, just when you see a dude that's in good shape, at least in my opinion, you're like, man, you know, I don't know this fucking guy from Adam or Eve, but you know, he obviously can display some type of dedication or persistence or
yes,
you know what I mean, and that say what you want to say. We live in a judgmental society, you know
yeah,
what I mean? And I'm not saying this is um, does not make up a good portion of why I do this, but you know, when someone you walk into a room and they see you with these, you know, boulder shoulders and you know, walking upright and you're confident, you know, I mean that definitely alters you internally as far as how you feel about yourself and how confident you are when networking with other people, when I'm
yeah,
selling jobs to people, you know, because one thing we kind of didn't mention too, not to toot my own horn, but you know, I started my own business too, you know, in the midst of everything else going on in my life. And it makes me a lot more confident to be hitting on all these cylinders, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I'm the man of the house, you know, and obviously who doesn't want to look better when they're naked, you know what I mean? That's just kind of a given, you know what I mean?
Right.
So just the confidence it instills in me, um and just you know, the triangle, like they say, body, mind, and soul, you know what I
Yeah,
mean? So if you know I'm working on my mind and my soul, but my body's shit, you know what I mean?
yeah.
I like having the trifecta into place, you know what I mean? So that's really what it comes down to me is just living a better, healthier lifestyle in general. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And
I had a I
staying in
not to
shape kind of falls
oh
in
go
the
ahead. No, keep
no,
going.
no, you're good. And just staying in shape just kind of falls right in line with the lifestyle changes I've made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I
so go ahead, if you were gonna say.
I had a I and I want to bring this up because you touched on it. When I don't know if you remember what before I went to prison, I was not put together. I was chunky. I was about 350 pounds when I went
Oh
down the
yeah.
road. I'm about two
I
set.
remember you doing burpees up in the
Yeah.
front cell bud
Oh,
turning
you're right. No, I
uh,
did come back for judicial. That's when we met.
yeah.
I didn't see you. Okay. So I had
Yeah.
trimmed out. I had lost about 50 pounds at that point. So you weren't my. Okay. I don't know,
Yeah.
dude. That was all traumatic. It was all I
Oh
blacked
yeah.
out.
I mean, it's hard to all these stints and stays kind of start blending
Yeah.
together. You know
But
what I
I very
mean?
clearly remember though my first bunkie in Lorraine, which Lorraine is the reception. You're in there with it's 23-1. You're locked down all day. You get out maybe for an hour to use the phone, get on JPay, get some commissary, whatever, or like cook your food, and uh, and then you get out to shower and shit at night. But I remember my bunkie. He walks in. He's this huge yoked black dude, and so him and we're rapping back and forth, not literally like talking, but we're going back and forth. And he's looking at me. He's like, bro, he was like, you are huge. He was like, why don't you work out? And I was like, well, I said, I got all kinds of time now. I'm going to start. He was like, yeah. He was like, you're going to start right now. He made me get up out of my bunk, started doing squats, push ups, burpees in the cell with him. And he used to always tell me, and this has stuck with me. And Ty, I wish I knew this guy's name or I wish I knew how to find him because he
Right.
instilled it in me. Your body, when you get out, people are already going to know you have a felony. So the next best thing would be to put yourself together, use your body as a business card and a calling card, because when somebody that's big or somebody that has muscles or is toned or is in shape walks into a room, it basically immediately tells whoever you're dealing with he's dedicated, he's driven, he can meet goals. It's and I can't. That's why I wish I could just thank him, because I think that has been a big part of my success as well. Your success. Anybody that goes into prison and can kind of put themselves together and come out and get their body, get their physical state put together, that says so much for you when you go on job interviews, when you network with people, when you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'm really glad you hit on that. So I didn't forget about your business. I wanted to talk about your business because, again,
Mhm.
um, I think it's great. Like I said, you're a fucking animal. You work nonstop. And outside of your normal job, you have started your own business. So I'm gonna let you plug it. Go ahead and tell people what made you start your own business, what kind of what you're doing, and throw your website out there. I'll put your website on the thing, obviously.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, man. Just really just uh becoming just really good at my job really is where it's all started. You know, because obviously doing tree work, there's people that there's trees everywhere. And people not only needed tree work done, but you know, the expertise that comes with kind of the more scientific portion of tree work is what kind of drove me to start the business, was because not only did I have the know-how on how to, you know, prune correctly, remove massive trees over people's houses, you know, without damaging anything, but just kind of the actual processes that trees go through as far as like being able to diagnose disease or certain pests or pathogens, how to treat trees for certain things, stuff like that. You know, and I've always had a passion for the outdoors and just plant life in general, kind of why I'm going to school for what I'm going to school for, which is, you know, botany. It's like plant and soil science. Because it really resembled a big part of my rebirth or my life in general, how something can start as a little seed and grow into this massive, strong rooted kind of thing, which helps sustain our life. You know,
Yeah,
obviously carbon
for sure. That's
sequestration
awesome.
and trees, you know, take carbon dioxide out of the air and give us oxygen. I just really kind of fell in love with the whole concept of something starting so small and growing into this massive thing that we kind of almost take for granted every day. That so just the passion behind it too, because obviously to stay driven while I have all these other things going on outside of my life. If the passion wasn't there, it wouldn't even be possible. You know what I mean? As far
Yeah.
as what I do for a living. And also me having so many kids and mouths to feed, you know, this was my way of kind of starting something to pass on to them eventually, or putting something into place because I may not be able to have all these money in these college or trust funds for, me, but me starting the business is something I'm able to put in place for them to potentially go to school on, or, further the education, or just help support them in whatever career path or life path they kind of choose to go on. So that was really kind of my thing behind that. And then I also have another business motto in the works that I'm going to let my two older kids take the reins on once I kind of set it all up into place. I'm going to start I already have all the equipment lists put together, and I'm going to start building the facility next year. I'm going to start like a vertical farming and a microgreens business
Oh, cool.
to help just make fresh produce more available in my community, and also to help kind of negate some of the food shortage issues that a lot of due to inflation, and just overall access as far as kind of fresh food,
Yeah.
for the fresh food kind of thing that's going on. So,
Super
and
cool.
plus, nowadays awareness of what people are eating and putting into their bodies is becoming a lot more prevalent. So having a good, sustainable, uh, clean source to provide for people, and my family as well,
Yeah.
is something I'm really into. So, you know,
That's super cool, man. You haven't said anything about that. That's awesome.
yeah, I,
Uh,
I like to kind of talk things into fruition, but usually I don't really mention them until I'm on the cusp of doing it, because
yeah.
once
No, I
again,
respect
I don't like
I
doing
respect
this.
it. It's that bumping
Yeah.
gums, yeah.
uh,
All right, cool. I am so for anybody that's in the northeastern Ohio area, northern Ohio area, I am 100% going to throw Tyler's website up there. You guys can reach out to Tyler, get in touch with him if you need some tree work done. When he gets his other project off the ground, maybe we'll have you back. You can plug that, talk about what it took to get that up and rolling, and we'll shoot the shit. Um, is there anything, any advice, any words of wisdom that Tyrone G would like to instill into guys that are maybe struggling out there or having a rough go at it to get on their feet?
yeah, I mean, if you're down and out right now and you're on the streets and you're having a hard time getting on your feet, man, reach out first and foremost. You know what I mean? Because no one's going to be able to help you if you have your mouth shut. The old closed mouths don't get fed type deal. There's definitely people willing out there to help. I just had a buddy that just did 12 years, and just got out, and I plugged him in with a guy to get him a tattoo apprenticeship, and
Oh, cool.
and other job opportunities that he might be interested in. After being living a different life for so while, I've made networking a big part of my life, so I always, and I'm sure you'd be more than willing to kind of help plug guys in with certain resources, as far as
Yes.
jobs go, all that kind of stuff. So reach out first and foremost, and then, and second thing I can say, man, is it does get better. It very well can get better, because I was in that pit of despair for years, in that revolving door of getting out, going back, getting out, going back. And just take a look at yourself, man, and start taking accountability, dude. Because don't get me wrong, there are some influences outside of us and the decisions we make which affect our daily lives. But at the end of the day, man, 99% of everything that happens to us, or things that we can do to change our lives, comes from here. You know what I mean? From that guy you're looking at in the mirror. So I mean, first and foremost, you got to start taking a look at yourself, and realizing that cause a lot of your own problems, and you're the one that can also fix things to change your life. I mean, those, and just start taking action. That's a big word for me, because a lot of people, especially me for years, always had these plans of grandeur, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna get out, I'm gonna, I'm gonna start doing this, I'm gonna do that. And the next thing you know, we're fucking sitting on the couch, fucking, shooting the shit, fucking playing Madden and not getting a fucking job or doing nothing.
Right.
I mean, so you just got to start taking action, man. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, be driven, never give up, have that do or die mentality. People are gonna tell you no. People
Get
are
some good
all
fucking
kinds.
friends, dude.
What's that?
Get some good fucking friends.
Well, yeah, that's
You're gonna
that's
have to
key. Get
change
some good
people
ones
you
and
hang out with.
drop the old ones.
Yeah, I mean, you got to start surrounding yourself with better people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, this was all awesome, dude. And I again I super appreciate you coming on here, especially while you're down in Aruba to do this. I know we had talked, I had a launch date. Well, it's coming up. So it means the world to me that you took time while you were on your vacation to get on here.
Well, absolutely.
I fucking appreciate you, dude. I love you. You are, I talk about you like almost like I have a fucking crush on you sometimes, dude. Like, you're just a great fucking guy, man. You're a hard worker. You are a true example of a success story and of what it takes to rebuild your life and to just make a life. You know what I mean? You said a couple minutes ago you like horticulture because you take time to look around you and you can appreciate life now. It's fucking important, and you hit on so many good points, dude, from the accountability aspect of things to, I mean, reconnecting with your family. And you've done it, dude. Like, you have done it. You know what I mean? You put in the work. You didn't just appear on top of the mountain. You're and you may not be on the top of your mountain, but you're sure as fuck on your way, dude. And again, it all boils back to surrounding yourself with good fucking people. You are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So I am going to wrap it. I'm going to put your website up. Tell everybody. So for anybody that's listening, what is your website if you're in the Northeast Ohio area?
It's tgtreecare.com.
So TG, like Tyler, like Tyrone G, treecare.com. For anybody,
yeah.
And guys, he's great at his job. He came out here, did some tree work for me. Hit him up. He's certified, bonded, licensed, insured. He will not drop a tree on your house, I promise. Yeah. But fingers crossed. But hey, man, I sincerely appreciate you.
No, thank you for having me on, dude. I'm glad. It's awesome to be able to do anything like this that could potentially help someone, dude. And obviously, anytime I can see your beautiful face, I'm fucking more than happy, dude.
No, hey, man, you enjoy that vacation. Enjoy your beautiful wife. Will she come over and say hi real quick?
She's still in her PJs, man.
Okay, we won't put her out there like that. But hey, man, I've been liking all the pictures on social media. It looks like you guys are having a great time, and continue to have a great time, man. You fucking deserve it. So enjoy yourself while you're done.
Oh yeah, thanks, bro.
All right, buddy. I'm gonna wrap this. Hold on, stay on because I'm gonna talk to you in a second. But all right, guys. We'll see you next time. I actually just got in contact. I am hoping I have a few great guests coming up, some mental health counselors in juvenile facilities. I have a CO at Lorraine that is talking about coming on. So I've got a great lineup of people. So stay tuned, guys. Love you. We'll catch you on the flip side. See you. Yep.